Good evening, everyone. Welcome back once again to Vicious Rants, and of course I am your host, your YouTube Messiah, and often imitated, never duplicated superstar Tim Vicious. And this week's Raw, it was in Flair Country, Charlotte, North Carolina. But before we get into that, let's sit on back, hit the rewind button real quick, and talk about last week's SmackDown with the SmackDown Rewind. Now, SmackDown last week, it was the Fallout 2 Survivor Series, and the big story that they went on with was highlighting on how Ellsworth wound up getting rid of Strowmen and Ambrose, and Styles was pissed about Ambrose helping him get eliminated and was saying that it was because of that they lost. And for all intents and purposes, yeah, we could say that did play a huge factor in it. And, you know, Ellsworth was offered a full-time SmackDown contract right then and there. And Styles said, why don't we put it up on the line in a ladder match? Ellsworth said, if I do, I want a future title shot also. They had that. Ellsworth won. Ugh. And yeah, I've already stated on how I feel about with the whole Ellsworth thing, but we're not going to get into that again. That's a whole... We're going to need a lot of coffee if I do that, guys. Just so you know, so you may want to get some on standby. Anyways, that and the other big thing that they were pushing, they did a tag team turmoil to see who's going to be the #1 contenders. And for all intents and purposes, it looked like American Alpha was going to do it. And just as it looked like they got the win, next thing you know, got the creepy light sound effects, and next thing you know, Bray, the Wyatt family, came up on the Titantron. Next thing you know, it showed Bray talking about, you know, boys, the devil is in the details. We won't fight you now. We'll let you rest up next week. Me and Randy, we're coming to get you. Run. So, I'm all for that with Randy and Bray going against American Alpha, hoping that not only do they win, but they win the titles, because, and you think about this, normally when you see like the cult kind of like stables and all, how often do you see the leader of the cult going after championship gold as opposed to just saying he wants his disciples to go after him? You know, aside from Undertaker with the ministry thing. You know? Alright, now that we're done talking about that, let's fast forward back into this week with Raw in Flair Country in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, overall score for the show, I gotta give it a 6.5. It felt like there was good effort there, you know. It felt like there was good effort, you know. I probably would have liked a little more detail put out there for stories, but, you know, yeah. So, Raw opens up with Chris Jericho doing the highlight reel, giving us all the gift of Jericho. Drink it in, man. Talk with his guest, none other than the longest reigning Universal Champ, his best friend, Kevin Owens. Kevin comes on now. They emphasize on how this is for 2 weeks in a row he's had the same guest on the highlight reel, which is a record. And on how also, you know, saying on, you know, they were talking about, like, on how Raw, about the match last week between Owens and Rollins, and saying that, you know, Jericho interfered. No. But Jericho explained it all. He said it wasn't Chris Jericho wearing a Sin Cara mask. It was Sin Cara wearing a Chris Jericho mask, which is, well, that's just pure diabolical. You know, which, okay, you know, that would actually be something kind of funny to see, because you do that. Just think about it. For next week's Raw, you know, you bring that up once or twice, and then they actually make a match between Jericho and Sin Cara. I'm just saying, because, you know, even if it's just a one-time shoot with that, just for that, just to set an example, because you know they're eventually going to push a match between Jericho and Rollins. So you have Jericho do that, wipe the floor with Sin Cara to say, okay, yeah, you see what I did? See what I did to him? That's what I'm going to do to you, Rollins. You know, something like that. But yeah, they're talking about with that, and then they're, you know, and then out comes Roman, again, carrying the belt over him like it's a frickin' hobo sack, or pretending he's Jake Roberts hauling Damien around. Ugh, I cannot stress enough on how much that is a huge peeve of mine. Probably best example on how I complained about that with recent memory. Not even so much carrying it like that, but frickin' when Luke Harper was Intercontinental Champion. He drug it around just like Rock did. You know, and I bitched and moaned about it then. Just like I bitched and moaned when Rock had the title. Just like I also bitched and moaned when Eddie Guerrero was Cruiserweight Champion, hauling it like that too. I am not just some blind-eyed person that's going to shit on everything Roman does. No. If I see something that I don't like, whether it's from somebody I like or do not like, I call bullshit on. You know, I'm not going to be like those smart, I ain't like them Smarky McSmarketons. You know, but either way, just wanted to get that out there for any first-time viewers that think, oh well, this is just some asshat with a camera. I'm not just some asshat with a camera. I am, well, yeah, I am an asshat with a camera, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, Roman gets in there, tries to go and make fun about Jericho and Owens' friendship. You know, their relationship as friends, you know, much like, you know, and then Roman says, you know, I got this, and I'm just paraphrasing here, I got this, I want that. And you know, Owens, you've been pretty much fighting like a coward. You have Jericho help you win every title match you've pretty much had. And just as Jericho was looking at Roman saying, you know what happens when you assault my friend, huh? Huh? You want to know what happens? Do ya? And then Owens, shut up, Chris. Now, I don't need Jericho, and you want a match with me tonight, because Roman did ask for a match with him. I will give you a match. Alright, I win, I get a title shot. You're on. Which led to a backstage segment between Jericho and Owens, with them two arguing and Jericho saying, we're done. Which, I really hope this isn't the end of Y2KO. Now on to the next match. It is R-Truth versus Braun Strowman, which, okay, this equaled out to the piss break of the night. And folks, much like Chris Jericho set history and set a record with the very first highlight reel guest for 2 weeks, with having the same guest on the highlight reel for 2 weeks in a row. We set a record here with having the very first piss break of the night on the show. What do you mean maybe? It's not my job to keep the records. It's you're the producer. You're supposed to keep records. Oh God. This is why I have a hard time working with my staff. But I love them. Much like a heart attack or a hernia, but I love them. Anyways, R-Truth versus Braun Strowman. I really shouldn't have to explain on how this went down. Next matchup, it was Tony Nese versus Cedric Alexander, and whoa, this was a nice match. Good homecoming for Cedric. Now, it had good solid action in it, like the pace, the back and forth kind of feel with it, you know. Really glad that the cruiserweights are getting a chance to having time to shine, you know, especially given that now they're going to have their own show, 205 Live, which I have been getting asked on, and no, the Vicious Studios and Vicious Rants will not be covering that. We are just strictly going to be covering Raw and SmackDown brands. Because if that was the case, trust me folks, I would be getting less sleep than I normally would, because then if I covered 205 Live, then I'd have to cover NXT, and then I'd have to cover SmackDown also, and then, yeah, I would get sleep like every other Sunday for 2 hours because of how much work I'd be putting in for all of that. But anyways, like I said, it was good to see Cedric Alexander get that good hometown pop. You know, love the way Cedric works. Always admired seeing his work back when he was in ROH and such. You know, good guy, good kid. Believe it or not, he's only, I think, about 4 or 5 years into the business. Ness, hell of an athlete, probably New York wrestling's finest graduate. You know, absolutely love seeing these two work. Ness just, whew, definitely see something good with him. Obviously, we see something with Cedric. You know, given the match he had with Kota Ibushi in the cruiserweight, in the global cruiserweight series. But with Ness, definitely got big things lined up for him down the road. You could tell. You know, now the match wound up coming to an end with Tony Nese actually hitting this pump handle powerbomb. He literally got Cedric up in the pump handle, hoisted him up, and wham! Threw him down in the powerbomb. And the way it looked like his shoulder wound up hitting it instead of just like the back. And I think that was more so just for safety, because the way he came down, if he'd have came down neck first, it looked like it probably would have broke his damn neck. But, whew. So, next matchup we got after that, it was Sasha versus Charlotte for Charlotte's women's title. And Sasha, you know, Charlotte, she got that nice hometown pop also. Charlotte, she hit right from the get-go, literally like 4 or 5 seconds after the bell rang. She just wound up finding a way to pop in the bank statement, started working it on Charlotte. Charlotte wound up hitting the ropes, got out. Sasha wound up, boom, hitting Dana, took her out. You know, and they just kept brawling. They brawled outside the ring the whole time after that. Ref wound up leading to a double count out, which case it looked like the place was about ready to start a riot until Foley came out and wound up saying, okay, listen, we're going to wind up doing this match. We're not going to have this rivalry end like this. We're going to have this match again in a little bit. I want you two to rest up. It's going to be Falls Count Anywhere. Because Foley went into more detail, but I just summed it up. You know? So, next matchup after that, it was Rusev versus Enzo, which is a rematch from last week. And this would have been the piss break of the night, but this had reasoning and story behind it. You know? It was Rusev clotheslined Enzo, toppled him down, Enzo got up, and then next thing you know, Rusev kick right to the ding-ding, right in Enzo. Which case, okay, understandable. The story behind with all this, you know, last week Enzo was walking around in the locker room, walking around the hallways naked because he got locked out the locker room. And, you know, was kind of showing his stuff like, to Lana, and then was making jokes about on how, you know, Lana liked what she saw. So, yeah, I don't blame him. If I was Rusev and somebody was saying that kind of stuff about my girl right in front of me, I'm pretty sure that would have been the mildest thing I'd have done. And if you know me and you know what kind of an evil man I can be, trust me, you understand. Next matchup we got after that, it was another cruiserweight match, Rich Swann versus Noam Dar. The Brian Kendrick was on commentary the whole time, and gotta tell you, I loved on how Kendrick just shot down Byron, and I mean like, not in like a good, God, shut up, you're such an idiot kind of way. No. He shot him down to where he was freaking on point with what he said, and was hard on him and with a stern tone, like he pulled out that dad voice like, "Aye!" on him the whole time. You know? Just like, you know, you have no right to go and say that. You know, talking about on how like he paid for his sins, being fired, you know, and then came back, you know, everyone's saying that, you know, it's a big feel, you know, a lot of the cruiserweights have like the big feel stories, you know, coming from nothing into something and all that. Kendrick, he had that, but you know, he got fired and now he's working and now he's paying for the sins and he is redeeming himself and nobody is caring about that. Okay, see, on his perspective, that's great. That's on how he's viewing it. That gives an establishment on why he's a good heel, why he's being a heel right now. Understandable. Not only that, it's also relatable in some senses if you've been in that position, which case I have. It's neither here nor there though. Now, this match with Swann and Dar, it was good solid pace, you know. Dar had good control with it. Really, honestly, I knew of him, just knew the guy from name before the Cruiserweight series. Once I got to see him in action, just boom, man, this cat is on fire. After I saw him in the Cruiserweight series, started looking up some of his stuff. The guy is good. This kid, no lie, he is gonna be something if he's not already in someone's eye. This kid is gonna wind up being there for a long haul. You know, really like seeing on how he works. Now, match wound up coming to an end with Swann. Didn't do the no-hand Rano or the stand-up 450. No, it was a back heel kick. It just, oh, so much thought, so much impact on it. Thought like freaking Dar's jaw got shattered or something right after that. After that, Swann cut a promo talking about on how he's going to beat Brian Kendrick and become the Cruiserweight Champion on the premiere episode of 205 Live. Now, on to the next match. It is Roman versus Owens with the title shot opportunity on the line. Owens, he just started right before the bell rang. Good, solid heel action right there. Owens, he was pretty much in control of it leading into the break. And when he came back, Roman, he started to pick up some momentum, but Owens just, boom, hit the brakes on that and wound up reverting back to the master of the chin lock. Just putting that chin lock on him. Gah! I'm the chin lock master! You know, hit that on him. You know, had that going for a minute, but Reigns, he wound up coming back. It was back and forth. I wouldn't say solid, but it was back and forth for a minute, like kind of touch and go sometimes. But end came to be when with Roman hitting the spear, got the 1, 2, 3. That was that, and Owens chalked up Roman winning because his head wasn't in the game because backstage segment happened, didn't go over earlier after Jericho wound up having that little thing saying that he wasn't going to be there for him, that they were done. You know, he went to go into his, talking faster than I'm thinking, sorry. He wound up going up to his car to try and get there and leave. And next thing you know, boom, Rollins came out, beat the shit out of him and gave him a pedigree on top of a car. So, if we're not going to get a matchup between coming up at Roadblock, we're going to wind up getting one eventually at the Royal Rumble, the very latest, my guess. Because Jericho versus Rollins doesn't really seem like it would fit for WrestleMania. Like I said, my money is still riding on the fact that they're going to make Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania. You know? Now, that said, Owens wound up saying his head wasn't in the game because Chris Jericho got attacked earlier and said, "Did we have an argument?" "Yeah, we did." But you know, all good friends have arguments. All best friends argue with each other sometimes. You know, I wasn't in the game because my head wasn't in the game because my friend, my best friend, had to get taken to a medical facility. And I wasn't there to make sure he's okay. You know? So that was it. Now next matchup we got New Day versus the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows, Karl Anderson, looking for the tag titles because now they are about, I want to say about maybe 2 weeks short from breaking Demolition's record for longest world tag team title reign in the company. In which case, I'm all good for that, man. If New Day wins, New Day beats that title reign, no problem, man. You know? Honestly, I think it would be funny if on the day where they have to defend the title and it's possible that they could lose it, have of all people Demolition come out and wrestle them. And here's the reason why. Yes, they've gotten older. Yes, they don't look as mean and nasty as they did. But the reason on why is because they still wear the same gimmicks. They still wear the same suits they did with their gimmick back in the day when they were in their prime. Now I want you to think about this. They're in their like 50s to 60s now. So they look like the creepy old guy in a snuff film. Not that I've seen those. What are we talking about? Let's move forward. New Day, right? Yeah. New Day versus Gallows and Anderson. And just as New Day was about to go and cut one of their infamous promos, they got in mid, hoo, hoo, hoo. Next thing you know, the Good Brothers came out, and Karl Anderson and Gallows, man, these guys were right on aggressive right from the get-go. And almost for a minute there, excuse me, almost for a minute there, reminded me of seeing them in a match at Wrestle Kingdom because on how hard they, just on how non-stop they were. I mean, they didn't really give much time to like let the opponents breathe. I mean, hey, I'm just saying no because last few matches I saw them two working at Wrestle Kingdom, you know, they were just wham! I mean, granted they lost those matches, but they were just non-stop is what I'm getting at. But anyways, Gallows and Anderson, they started out, they were real aggressive for most of the match. You know, most of the match they were pretty much in control. And they're emphasizing now, they don't want, you know, Foley and Steph, they don't want New Day to just walk into having that title reign. So they're going to make them defend it every week until they surpass it. Like I said, which leads into the very day of. Have Demolition themselves come out in their suits, gimmick with the paint, and then they look like the creepy old guy that does like the bondage stuff, and just come out and try and wrestle them like, you know. But yeah, match wound up coming to an end when, you know, Anderson went to go do an Okada roll on Woods, got 1, 2, and then Woods reversed it and was holding on to the tights as well. 1, 2, 3. So seeing New Day doing little moves to cheat here and there, I see the potential for sighting of a possible heel turn to come up if and when they beat the title reign. However, in the event they're not, what it could also spew into is them being just, well, we're doing what we can to just say we did it, you know? Sometimes you gotta cut a corner or two to say you beat a record. Nothing saying that they can't do that, you know? But yeah, now on to the main event of the night, which is also the match of the night here. It was Sasha Banks versus Charlotte round 2, Falls Count Anywhere match. And this felt more like, this was more insane of a match than the Hell in a Cell, and this was what the Hell in a Cell match should have been, you know. Sasha was real aggressive straight from the get-go on it, you know. Really liked on how they were doing that. Didn't have Dana out there, you know. They were probably playing at the fact that Dana got hit early in their match earlier and couldn't come out, you know. But This was real nice. It was real good. I know a lot of people at this point, including myself, are just sitting there like, okay, after this, please tell me we're going to start having other girls wrestle on the show, right? You know? Right? Please? Nice. But either way. Yeah, it was good. You know, Charlotte, she wound up starting to come back, wound up taking it to Sasha it was right outside, wound up leading eventually all the way to the commentating table, which is over by the entryway. There, I'll move my hand over here, that way y'all can see it. Wound up getting it all the way up to the entryway, took the flap off, threw Sasha down onto the floor, and then from the announce table, which is like up here, when Sasha, she's down here, so a good bit of height in between. She did a moonsault off of there and onto it just to take her out. You know, she wound up hitting natural selection on her also on the outside, just kept kicking out. They were doing good. This is the kind of wrestling, or not wrestling, but this is the kind of, I want to say, physicality that keeps saying, need to get the women to start doing more. You know, and if you're going to do no DQ matches like this and such, one thing you're definitely going to want to do, you want to bring a sense of violence and brutality, you know, in there with the girls. You know, don't be afraid to make them shed a little blood. Don't be afraid to let them have some blood, you know. And don't be afraid to let them use a table or a chair, and I mean in a real way, you know. Yeah, match wound up coming to an end though when they were wound up eventually brawling out in the stands. Sasha wound up getting Charlotte, stuck her in between a railway, you know, in between one of the rails in between for the steps when you go up and down in the stadiums. Just boom, 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 kept hitting knees in the gut, and then wrenched on back, hit a bank statement on there, and then Charlotte tapped out. So Sasha is now a 3-time champ, praying to God that this time she doesn't wind up just dropping it at the next pay-per-view. You know? So, yeah, that was that. You know, I mean, Flair obviously came out and congratulated her, but there wasn't much big on that, but that's it for this week's show, folks. So, like on normal, please do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, go back, watch the other shows. Look for me on my Twitter at Tim Vicious. Look for my other account, Tim_Vicious. I'm also out there on that Facebook gimmick, Tim Ash. And, folks, do not forget to follow all of these cool-ass cats right here on the Twitter. Axel Mulligan, Sunday Segway, Simply Sabrina, Cranky Asshole, Aaron_Deborah, my executive producer who provided the music for this week's show, Mr. Oliver Ben. Make sure y'all check out his music. It's out there on iTunes, Spotify, Xbox Gold, and such. As well as my client, Bronx Bitch Forever. And folks, like I always tell you, you love me great, you hate me. Fuck you.